We have, again, our speakers today, Doug Pennington, with the support and help of the fabulous Paola Velasquez. So I'll let you take it away, Doug.
Thank you, Kathy, and good morning, everyone. As Kathy said, I'm Doug Pennington, and I'm the regional manager at IMEC. Regional managers in IMEC cover geographic areas, and since I cover mostly McHenry and Lake counties and a little bit of Cook, most of you may not know me, but you may be familiar with one of my counterparts like Dave Musgrave or Jim Hancock. But in any case, I'm happy to be here today and pleased to meet you. Also with us today is, Kathy mentioned, is Paola Velasquez. I don't know if I said that right. Our Director of DEI and Manufacturing. Paola comes with a ton of experience on this topic, so she'll be chiming into the conversation along the way. I want to thank you all for attending this forum. I can't tell you how honored I am to be a part of this fantastic program that VIA is sponsoring. And I hope you take away from this meeting, some bits of information you can use either to help you put together your presentation for the Spark Awards, or just to give you some food for thought about things you might want to start employing within your business. Now, going in, I'll just say I'd like to make this session a conversation. If it's just me talking for an hour and a half, I guarantee people will be looking at their watches and thinking about what they need to do the rest of the day, and I'll probably be one of them. So I'll be asking you to come off mute along the way to provide your input to the discussion, and I thank you in advance, for your participation. So, getting into the meat of it here, what is social responsibility? I mean, in simplest terms, it's the obligation that individuals and organizations have to act in ways that benefit society at large. And this means that decisions and actions consider not only economic factors, but also their social and environmental impact. So, in other words, the goal is to balance profit-making objectives with the welfare of society and the environment. Now, where does it exist in your business? I think sometimes when we think of social responsibility, what immediately comes to mind are things like recycling materials and using renewable energy sources. And those are great. And if you're employing those now, that's terrific. But, there's really so many more aspects to consider. So let's brainstorm a little here. What are some other ways that social responsibility exists in your business? And I'll just open it up, just throw some things out. Don't leave me hanging.
Here at Aurora Specialty Textiles, we see where we can help out the local community, doing things like food drives, collecting money for different charities. We've along the way, we've gotten creative of how we've raised money. One of the things is we recycle our pop cans, our aluminum cans, and then the employees pick where that money gets donated. This year we tried something new. We did a Feed My Starving Children event over in Naperville. And that was outside of work hours. That was on a Saturday. So we had pretty good turnout for people showing up on a Saturday with family members.
That's cool.
So, and it's actually a pretty fun event. It's a popular event with other groups. So we decided to try it out here at our company, and we had a pretty decent turnout with it. So those are a few of the things that we do with our local community.
That's great. Any other volunteers? Now, I'll throw in a couple of other things. I would say ethical business practices, integrity and honesty in dealings with employees, customers, suppliers, and the community. And I know that many of you are employing that. Another way it exists is employee welfare, fair labor practices, fair wages, providing a safe working environment, DEI, fostering an inclusive work environment that values diversity and equity and inclusion. That's another one. Philanthropy and giving back. I bet many of you are doing that. Supporting charitable causes, donating to organizations, contributing to social initiatives. Another one, and this one may not come to mind immediately, but supply chain ethics, ensuring ethical sourcing of materials, fair treatment of workers across the supply chain, responsible procurement practices. Those are all things that can be considered best practices within an organization. Anything else on any other ideas anyone has? Okay, I'll go to the next slide. And how do these initiatives impact your business? Why is social responsibility important? I'll throw out a couple of things to start the conversation. But one that comes to mind immediately is enhanced reputation and brand image. Consumers often prefer to support businesses that demonstrate a commitment to ethical and social causes, and that can lead into increased customer loyalty. Customers are more likely to remain loyal to businesses that align with their values, and relates to higher customer retention rates. Has anyone seen examples of these or any other impacts in their businesses?
The biggest thing that we can see from our social responsibility, as we've done some hiring from a larger position, we get comments all the time that's one of the things people really enjoy about our organization is what we do in the community and how we share what we sponsor. So we've got 3 or 4 new hires that was part of the reason that they chose us. So
yeah, attracting and retaining talent, that's a big one. Companies that prioritize social responsibility tend to attract top talent. I mean, employees, especially the younger ones, are increasingly looking for employers who are committed to making a positive impact. What are some others?
So Doug, I was actually going to chime in and mention that as well. The employee recruitment and retention is critically important. And I think there's a lot of costs there, and you can do this to drive the business to be more profitable as well. Employees like working for companies that have a strong social responsibility statement, policy, and actions. And so as you think about retaining those employees, making sure you don't have to retrain and rehire new folks, there's a lot of costs that could be saved by having a strong social responsibility program.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of cost savings, you throw efficiency in there. Implementing sustainable practices can lead to cost savings in the long run. I mean, for instance, reducing energy consumption or waste can help cut operating costs. So there's that. I might throw in access to capital. Investors and financial institutions are increasingly considering environmental, social, and governance factors when making investment decisions. Companies with strong social responsibility practices may find it easier to access capital or to attract investment. Any others that people can think of? You might throw in innovation and differentiation. embracing social responsibility can drive innovation within a business. Positive relationship with stakeholders. So there's a lot of really, really good impacts to a business if you have a good social responsibility program. So we'll go to the next slide. And what does good look like? In the manufacturing industry, determining what good looks like can vary depending on the specific goals and objectives of your organization. However, good measures should be quantitative, if at all possible, because they provide tangible data that businesses can use to track progress and set benchmarks and compare their performance over time. So let me ask the group, what are some examples of metrics that you're using to track your initiatives? How about ESG ratings? Does anyone track that? There are various organizations.
I'm happy to chime in here. In my business, I work with manufacturing companies to help them create sustainability and social impact programs. And usually, what I see, my clients, they want to measure carbon emissions, create a carbon footprint as the first step. Usually, they're getting pressure from larger customers, typically, the large corporates that are further down the supply chain, and they're starting to evaluate their supply chain emissions, Scope 3. And having manufacturing companies measure those emissions, that's usually the first thing on folks' radar to document from a quantitative perspective.
Yeah. How about ESG ratings? There's various organizations that provide those. They evaluate factors like carbon footprint, labor practices, diversity, board structure, any number of things. Does anyone look at that for their organization? I think some companies that provide those are, from memory, I say MSCI and Sustainalytics. FTSE Russell, I think, does that.
I'll add in a couple more there, Doug. EcoVadis is one that I'm seeing more and more in CDP. Climate Disclosure Project. Those seem to be racing to the top of relevancy, and those are more active, right? Some of these programs are passive, where the organizations go out, they review information from your company website, and they'll do their best guess. Other ones require the company to actually submit documentation, and they go through and score that. So, some of my clients, that's part of the areas that I'm supporting is helping them understand what policies are needed. How do you boost your score? Because their customers care about that.
Yeah. Good stuff. And then there's other ways. There's other metrics. There's diversity metrics. A lot of people may keep these and not even realize that they're keeping diversity metrics, but percentage of women and minorities in leadership positions, workforce demographics, diversity training, participation rates, and so on. All these, can quantitatively measure an organization's commitment to diversity. I mean, you could even look at community impact indicators and number of volunteer hours contributed by employees, monetary donations to charitable causes. Those can be tracked. I know there's some I'm missing. Sustainable practices metrics, such as renewable energy usage, waste reduction targets, water conservation efforts, use of eco-friendly materials and products, ethical supply chain metrics. I mentioned that before about the supply chain. You can track your suppliers' adherence to ethical practices, such as fair labor conditions, responsible sourcing of materials. I know when I was at Emerson Electric, we did a lot of business in the defense supply chain, and we were required to be able to participate in that business, to be able to prove that the materials that we use in our products weren't didn't come from undesirable countries that didn't practice, ethical practices. So, there's a lot of companies that are beginning to do that. I mean, so I think there are probably more if we think about this, but I think the key takeaway for this is that for the Spark Awards, do your best to back up your claims, and it can be one of the key ways that the judges determine good, better, and best. So if you can gravitate towards metrics of some kind and be able to present those, that's going to be a good thing. Any other comments on this slide at all? Anyone has?
Doug, I would throw out one that doesn't usually come to mind, because when you think of social responsibility, a lot of people go to environmental, right? And sometimes we forget about people's safety, right? So we measure safety measures, right? If we are providing training and education, are we looking at the whole person, right? Language, education, reading levels, comprehension levels. And so that is how it all, it's like that whole picture of how it relates to social responsibility. So that's another metric that a lot of manufacturers are measuring and don't even realize that it's part of social responsibility.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. So we thought it'd be helpful for you, to all see how the judging team for the Spark Awards approaches each company's best practices. And we'll discuss these in more detail, each of these later on. But in summary, we divide best practices into 4 groups. First, there's the approach. How does the company tackle this? Do methods exist, and are they consistent? Deployment. How do you unroll your approach? And to what extent do you apply your approach? This is where the rubber meets the road. Then there's learning. Has your company learned from the deployment and the approach? And did you acquire new knowledge or skills as a result of the deployment? And then finally, integration. And it's, how does the company integrate its learnings? Is there a rinse and repeat cycle, i.e., continuously improving with each iteration? Does it support key organization goals? Has it become part of the culture? So, this four-pronged, I should say, system is not just helpful in this setting. I mean, think of it, how you can use this in your company for continuous improvement for all kinds of systems, departments, etc. So let's go into each one of these just a little more depth. And let's start here with approach. I'd like to open it up again here. What are some best practices you feel you have, and how have some of you tackled social responsibility? Is Jeremy Fewer on yet? I know he said he might be a little bit late.
Yeah,
I can't.
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, good, great, Jeremy.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll call on you on this one. MTH was a finalist in last year's Spark Awards, and as I went through the judges' notes, I was kind of struck by the high marks given MTH for their cross-functional team approach, and particularly, customer survey feedback loop and their annual survey with employees. Can you take a couple minutes to describe that process at MTH?
Sure. So basically what we do is, we do an annual survey for all our employees. Basically what happens is the money that we get from our soda pop and machines and concessions, any money that we make from that, we donate. And so we put a survey out to employees, and we decide where that money should be, donated. On top of that, we have a social responsibility committee that meets monthly. They have a monthly budget that they can donate. And so all employees can make suggestions to the committee, or the committee can create, come up with ideas for themselves. Like just, I think December's, we donated to the Kendall County Food Pantry. So that was a suggestion from one of our employees. So it is a group effort when it comes to deciding where we our philanthropy, so to speak. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's
Jeremy,
awesome.
I was wondering, for your survey, your employee survey, is that something you guys do in-house, or do you guys outsource that? Do you have a different do you have a partner for your employee survey stuff?
So our engagement survey we do in-house. It's one that I developed using different like Gallup questions and other sources. We do a quarterly pulse survey as well that is through our HIRS. That's 2 questions. And then, but the end of the year, the annual survey for the soda pop, that's we just use like a Google form. It's very not sophisticated. People, it's like, hey, the Humane Society and or St. Jude's, and so that we put everything together and everybody gets to vote. So
that's great. Now you said your HIRS, is that, I'm sorry, is that your
it's our human resources information system. It's Bamboo HR.
Okay.
So we have an ability to set it up every quarter. It basically goes out. The first question is as Likert scale from 0 to 10. How likely are you to recommend MTH as a place of employment? And then if you answer 9 or 10, it's the question is, okay, great. Why do you like working here? And if it's 8 or below, it'll ask, okay, well, what would you like to improve about MTH? And so then from there, we get a whole list of suggestions and things that we work on and we try to change going forward.
That's great.
Hey, Jeremy, I have another question for you. And this, I didn't really tell you I was going to ask this one, but it just came to mind when you were talking about the survey. When we had the innovation forum, I think it was Brian from NTH was on, and he was discussing a customer survey feedback loop that they used on the product development side to give them an idea of what new products need to be developed. Have you had the opportunity to incorporate social responsibility into that survey feedback loop?
That unfortunately, that's a sales tool, so I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what they're doing on that. But I know what we have. We do have several of our customers basically ask for. Todd was talking about the carbon footprint earlier. We do have some of our customers do send out a survey and what is our carbon footprint, and so we do that. And then we did start. We have a couple of things that we've reached out to our our customers to help with recycling. That most of them have been very receptive for it. So
yeah, okay, all right. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to spring that on you.
No, but I will definitely. It's a great idea. I will put that in Brian's ear to see if we can get that added. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Great. Aurora, I can't even talk this morning. Aurora Specialty Textiles was a finalist last year. And when I reviewed their presentation, I noted their approach is employee-driven and centric, a bottoms-up approach to creating ideas via committees. Kevin, can you elaborate a little bit on that approach?
Yeah, similar to Jeremy, we have quarterly meetings where we send out surveys. They are internal surveys, pretty informal. We have just a one-page questionnaire after our communication meeting. The employees, we're asking them questions of what programs they want to participate in, what they would like to see, and then those are filtered to the committee, and then the committee meets and sees how they can make those ideas happen. So we on a regular basis, we have blood drives where we'll have Heartland centers. I think the names might have changed here more recently. Come in for a blood drive though. But yeah, we're soliciting these ideas from directly from the employees every quarter, really.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. I also noted that, and it's germane to this slide, that you all have reviewed your mission and vision statements, and I believe with respect to social responsibility, sort of to define the values of the company. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. And then we are ISO 14001 certified for environmental management systems, so that helps push us along and keeps the environmental things at the forefront, where we have programs in place where we're reviewing things on a regular basis there because of that certification.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that in the integration portion, so I may have you elaborate on that a little bit when we get there. Just some other examples. Just referring to my notes here, when other companies reported, United Scrap Mill reported 60% of their employees involved in philanthropic efforts for the past 2 years. Duquesne, they reported that they were heavily involved in the community and that the company and employees donate time to various charities and school programs. I mentioned Hesed House, baseball and soccer teams, work for the police and the military. And looking at the note here, they have 170 employees and about 50% engagement in that activity. So there's a lot of good best practices out there. So some good stuff there. Anything else anyone wants to add there before I move on? Deployment. The first bullet there, leadership sponsored. I'd like to get Paola to weigh in on this. How critical is this, Paola?
Oh, it's so important because we role model the behaviors that we want to enforce every day in every interaction. So our leadership are the people we look to, right? Our employees look to. So it's so important that we get our leadership on board, understanding what this is, speaking the language, the lingo, understanding it so that it's part of the conversation, right? And then kind of like, I know we're going to move to the slide eventually, we'll talk about integration, but if you don't have leadership sponsorship from the beginning, it's going to make it even harder to have that integration in the end.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's just so critical, because, like I say, this is where the rubber meets the road. And if it can't work from the bottom, it has to be driven down from the top, and so that everyone feels that they're part of the team, and it's what the company is trying to do moving forward. How about everyone else? What are some of the goals you're setting? What kind of team-based approach are you using? Leadership, support, anything? Open it up to the group.
So one of the things that we currently have from a deployment standpoint is, trying to get get everybody involved. We have a greet team that meets monthly.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
actually, after we're done here, we have our Christmas get together this morning with our green team. So, but yeah, so and we tackle we come up with some of the green initiatives. Um, I know Kevin talked about the 14,001 certification, and our green team really helps us stay fresh with that. We're working on a light bulb recycling uh, pilot where employees can bring in their used light bulbs, and we have a couple of our engineers are on it, and so they've created this really cool contraption that allows you to drop them in there and it doesn't break them. It's really cool. It's a bucket, and it was been amazed at what they've been able to do. But so that's the green team. Um, let's see.
You have a newsletter?
Yeah, I was just gonna say we have a monthly newsletter
Yeah.
that goes out to everybody. There's some in print, but then also electronically. That way, we don't necessarily have to waste a bunch of paper in regards to that. But yeah, there's generally an update, weekly update of what's happening from the green team. Actually, all of our departments are encouraged to submit a story monthly about what is going on. Just recently, we flipped on our solar panel arrays, so that was our cover story and had pictures and everything else.
So that's great. Thank you for that. Just another question on this slide. You see the bullet there, sustainability goals, and that kind of feeds back into what we talked about before about measurements and metrics. Does anyone have any particular metrics that they either are measuring or would like to begin measuring, or maybe they're working towards measuring? Any thoughts on that?
We have a few goals that are maybe a little bit unconventional that we didn't initially measure. We use a lot of chemicals that come in drums and totes. And there is a supplier that we work with where we can recycle those or return those. So I don't recall, I just looked at the numbers yesterday. There was, I forget how many hundreds of totes and drums that we returned to that particular vendor this year. That's something that we just started measuring in 2022 and in 2023. Along with that, not that we want to produce scrap cloth, but it does happen, and there's some cloth that we look at secondary markets for or secondary uses, so it's not truly recycling, but we consider it landfill diversion, and so we do measure that now as well. We've been doing that one for a few years as well, so it's not your typical recycling, but it is landfill avoidance. So we wanted to capture that. There's some, we do have a couple of customers in particular where we do have reusable packaging, being the pallets that our product shipped on. So we'll ship it back to them. We'll ship product out to them, and then they accumulate the empty packaging and then return it on full loads or loads back. Some of them are just special wooden pallets configured exactly to the large rolls that we send out. Others are even more complex with metal racking systems that are returned.
That's a pretty good list. That's a pretty good list. I apologize. I can't see who all is on here. It's not. I don't have it on my screen. Is Ashley from Babbitt on?
Yeah, she is. I think she's in a shared space. So she said it was a little
Yeah,
tricky.
I think I was muted. I'm
Yeah,
here I
okay.
am.
Hey, Ashley. Hey,
Hi.
welcome. I
Hi.
hear you have a pretty cool plastics recycling initiative going on. Would you mind talking about that a little bit?
No, not at all. So some of you may have seen it in the e-newsletter or the magazine that was sent out last week. I partnered with Trex earlier this year, and that is I don't know if you've seen their boxes at grocery stores. That's where you drop off your plastic bags. So we cut out the middleman, and now we deal directly with Trex. So we bale all of our soft plastics and send that in for recycling, and they turn it into composite decking. So, and we, you would have seen it in the newsletter because we are opening it up to other VIA members. So other companies can bring their plastics to us as well.
That's so great, Ashley. And what
That
I'll
is.
do is I'll send the flyer out to when I send the slides out to everybody. So in case you guys missed it in the e-zine, but that's such a nice offer, Ashley. Thank you for letting all the VIA members, be part of that.
Oh, absolutely. We're really excited about it. We just baled our 11th bale for the year. So, and each bale is about 1,000 pounds. So that is how much plastic we're diverting.
Oh my
So
God.
it's pretty exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really great. Congratulations.
That's
Thank you.
super.
Yeah, we're really fortunate that we have the support of our leadership, that they're willing to, let us spend our time and our resources to put into that. So
That's what it's about, isn't
it?
Yep. That's great. It's good stuff. In just looking at my notes, folks that aren't on, but reported last year, United Scrap Metal, they formalized an ESG program with Loyola, which improved reporting and training. Sonova, they have a goal to reduce energy consumption, and they track that on a bi-weekly basis. Ball Horticultural, they use website to share philanthropy and volunteering. I'm just reading here, processes in place for giving and volunteering, monthly corporate sponsored volunteering events, a goal of 90% participation in volunteering. That's extremely high. Great program there. Another one here from my notes, Duquesne, they established a trades program with East Aurora High School, creating a curriculum and design studio for 4 years of classes at the University of Illinois. First of its kind. So really, really good stuff. Some good examples of best practices. Thank you all for contributing that. So let's move on to learning. Kevin, you reported last year that your employee retention has increased. And I think you kind of alluded to it earlier in the meeting here. In the past 2 years that you've been highlighting social responsibility for your recruiting efforts. Can you talk a little bit to how you're affecting that on a structured basis?
I can speak to it a little bit. My counterpart, my director of HR, has a lot more information on that. As we went through the interviews, she fielded that question more so.
Okay.
What I do know is that all of our recent hires have been 100% employee referrals. So we do have a program where if an employee refers somebody for hire and they're kept on past the 90-day probationary period, the referring existing employee gets some type of bonus. So all of the new hires in the past 2 years have come through employee referrals. So that measurement tells us that in general, people are happy to be working here. So we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, you did a pretty good job of handling that.
Yeah, Jerry does does a much better job explaining. But
I appreciate that. One other question I was going to ask you. Last year, I was looking at the notes, and you reported that the company learns from participation in Spark Awards. I thought that was a nice plug. How did that help Aurora learn?
Really, we have a lean steering committee, so we're always looking for continuous improvement. So we have continuous improvement projects at all times, and our approach to the Spark Awards is continuous improvement. Okay, we don't want to stay stagnant. We don't want to just simply repeat what we did the previous year. So we look at ways that we can do better in all categories. So even if it's one step better, we're the way that we approach the 6 categories is we assign a champion to complete the form, gather all that information, but then we have a counterpart review that, and that opens up discussion between the departments. Hey, what we did this. Did you consider that this for this answer? But we're always striving to do better, and whether we win, if we win, it's good. We appreciate the winning awards past few years. But at the end of the day, our employees, we're here together. We run 2 shifts. We've got employees in here 20 hours a day. We see a lot of each other, and we want everybody to feel good about what we're doing together. So
yeah, so that's good. So you use the Spark Awards sort of as to set the goal, and then you build a process around achieving that. Yeah. And okay, good. Does anyone else have the examples of learning as a result of their social responsibility initiatives? Jeremy, I think I read that you have a recycling best practices training for your employees. Is that correct? Is Jeremy still with us?
I don't steal Jeremy's spotlight or anything, but we also have incorporated
good
that into our onboarding. Yeah, I created it was just a PowerPoint, but we converted it to a video. So it's part of the onboarding process. So everyone is familiar with our sustainability initiatives and how things need to be disposed of and things like that. So we also had, I think I finished that about 2 months ago, and we had all current employees had to go through the training as well. And then there was a quiz after it too, to make sure everyone was paying attention.
Yeah, put that accountability in there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. That's great.
Very cool.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm looking at some of the reports from last year from other companies. Looks like there's several examples of engagement surveys, surveys and focus groups. Duquesne, they mentioned they partner with cement groups to address the perception of concrete and how to reduce the carbon footprint. I thought that was pretty cool. So there's some good examples. Let's go to the next slide.
Doug, before you go on to the next slide, can I just share, and I apologize because I can't remember the company off the top of my head, but I remember that from the example that was just shared right now with the video. So, you learn that from your social responsibility efforts, you learn that, I need to improve on this. So you create the video. And one of the companies I was working with, we saw they had videos and some videos in Spanish. So my ask was, why do you have it in Spanish? Well, I have some employees that's their, their prominent language. So we have it in Spanish for them. So that was a learning for them. They didn't want to leave out some of their employees, right? And then another learning was taking it a step even further on the video and activating the closed caption so that anyone that maybe it's hard of hearing, right? We all, could be have some type of disability in our future, right? And so then just that piece of continuous improvement is that learning piece.
Great idea. Thank you for adding that, Paula.
Yeah. Doug here. I'm sorry. I had someone come in my office while I was.
Yeah, that's all right. Hey.
Yeah. We do
you have a job, right?
Yeah. Sorry. We do have a recycling training that we do every year just to make sure everybody knows, what is recyclable, what's not recyclable, what goes where, and it's through our. We have another e-safety system online where, much like, forgive me, I forgot who said they had a test afterwards, but there is a test afterwards, and they have to get a 75% on it before they can have before they can complete the course. So, but yeah, it's done every year. That way, everybody understands, where everything's supposed to go. So.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Yeah, that was Ashley at Babbiting that was talking about the test afterwards. So, all right, cool. All right. Let's go on to integration. And this is how's the company integrating its learnings. Paola, I'm going to ask you here. I've got culture there as one bullet. How important is culture to a successful integration?
Right. So if we have, our mission, vision, and values, and they're aligning with our social responsibilities, that's going to just make it all more impactful and powerful and sustainable, right? So it's not a separate thing that you're doing, right? It's part of what you do every single day. So it's important to have it integrated into your culture. The other thing I would say too is one of the things that I heard was ISO 14001, right? Yep. That's part of a culture. You're embedding that into your culture. And so that is important, right? Again, for sustainability, it all aligns. The previous slide you had onboarding, I think. So integrating it into your onboarding practices. Are you talking about your values? Are you talking about your vision? Does your website have some of those sustainability and social responsibility efforts you're working on, right? To attract and retain some talent. So again, all of it, as long as you're tying the pieces together, it's going to be sustainable. If you have it separate, when the person that's leading it leaves, it typically falls by the wayside and we kind of forget about it. So if it's integrated, it can be sustainable and everyone's living that. So that's a great part of integration.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And you bring up a good point. There are several bullets that appear on multiple best practices, aren't they? They're kind of interrelated. So one leads into another or is important and really in both or in several of these buckets. I think Aurora Specialty has ISO 14001, and I believe Jeremy, I know last year MTH was going for ISO 14001, and are you certified for that now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Also, too, you had mentioned that MTH bought new land for a new building with zero carbon footprint. How's that going?
Well, it's going.
Okay.
Well, as you know, interest rates went through the roof, and it's more expensive to build things, and so that's kind of where we're at right now.
So you have the land right now, but no new building, I guess. Is that
not yet? We're in the process of designing everything and getting it all set up. But again, that is the hope. Is we're going to put in a whole solar field. And he does, I believe Tim was talking that there's a possibility for geothermal as well. So he's wanting to look at all of those options, possibly even putting a windmill. So he wants it to pretty much be as self-sustaining as possible.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of other things here that I had notes on, and it gets into the deployment side, leadership support and so on. But I believe, Kevin, you'd reported that corporate began matching donations to charities when they saw your progress at Aurora. Is that correct?
Yeah, in some cases we're doing it at the site level here at Aurora. So.
Yeah. Okay. So, other examples of social responsibility being prioritized in organizations. I've got, we talked about Aurora and MTH, ISO 14001. Anyone else looking at that? Okay. That's a good one, as Paula mentioned, because that's a way of continuously reviewing environmental metrics, policies, and procedures. I see United Scrap Metal here has 17-year partnership with Ronald McDonald Charity. All Horticultural serves on industry groups like the American Seed Trade Association, Floral Culture International, and others. So, any other input on this particular slide? All right, it's good discussion. There was a lot of good stuff come up there. All right, so what I have up here is a social responsibility survey question, and those of you who have taken the survey recognize this as one of the survey questions. I'm selecting at random a few of these, and I'd like to have a little conversation around them. So if you're going for a Spark Award, it'll be good to hear how these are being answered. You might get some ideas, but even if you aren't, you might get some nuggets from the conversation that'll be useful at your company. I'll start this off by saying that on this one, employees who participate in community service programs that are supported by their employer often report higher job satisfaction. They feel that their company cares about social causes, and this can lead to a stronger emotional connection and loyalty to the organization. What are some other thoughts from the group on how your teams have been impacted by community service and outreach? How about public image and brand perception?
I was just going to say, Doug, with social media, what companies are now using social media to share some of these impacts? And have you seen more engagement maybe from your employees, right? They're now on social media, liking things, making comments. That's a way of engagement and participation. Maybe even, people were looking at the social media, and now you gain some interest and they want to participate, right? So I think that might be another way of using it.
Yeah. When a company engages in meaningful community service and outreach, it can really enhance its reputation. I mean, this positive image can lead to increased brand loyalty or even attract customers who support, who have similar goals and support socially responsible businesses. So that's a good one. Personal growth and fulfillment, I might say. Employees often find personal fulfillment in a sense of purpose by contributing to community service initiatives, which can translate into increased motivation and productivity in their work. So, enhance company culture, maybe. Encouraging community services is a part of the company culture. It sets a positive example for employees, and it can attract individuals who align with these values when recruiting new talent. We talked about that. So again, all this outreach can impact the team. More learning opportunities. I'll throw that out. Engaging in community service exposes employees to diverse experiences and perspectives. And that kind of an exposure can broaden their understanding of societal issues, which can be valuable for personal growth. So, I submit it can even contribute to innovation problem solving within the business, because you see certain things that you'd like to attack, and it may require some innovation. So several ways that can impact the employees. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. All right, next one. How is your company's service and outreach structured and aligned with your brand values? This is not a particularly easy question. It requires a little bit of thought. Anyone on this? When I looked at this, my first thought was, first of all, the company needs to define its core values and brand identity, right? It's hard to align your outreach with your brand and values if you haven't identified those. And then you have to select causes and initiatives that resonate with those values and brand identity. For instance, if a company emphasizes environmental sustainability, initiatives supporting eco-friendly practices or conservation efforts would align well. So, having said that, what are other examples that you can think of?
Well, I'm going to share one, and I'm not putting you on the spot, Kevin. I'm just sharing. I'm celebrating. So part of your mission statement, you've incorporated what your values are. You talk about collaboration, continuous improvement, and then you also talk about our success will be measured by our positive contributions to our customers, employees. You also have in their community, environment, right? So you're calling those words out. This is what we believe in. And so again, that if I'm looking to join your organization, I'm going to look at your mission statement. So you have, a possibility of attracting and retaining employees with that. And then once they come in, you're living your mission and your values and what you said from the beginning through all the, the continuous improvement that you're doing and all the sharing and, collaboration. So I think that's a great example.
Thanks. Yeah, and I know as far as customers go, we do send out a formal survey every year. We send that out to all of our customers and get responses for that. And then we review those as a group. And then we don't have, as far as the employees, like I said, we have regular meetings, so we're continually updating employees and going back and forth with the employees, so we know where we're making progress there. So there's a lot of communication with the employees. I'm aware of that. And then as far as the customer one, I know we do that one big survey once a year, and then we take actions on that.
Yeah, I want to reinforce what was I believe it was Paula said earlier about showcasing impact using various channels. I think that's so important. Social media, sharing success stories, that's just really, really important. Another thing I might throw in there is partnerships and alliances. form strategic partnerships with nonprofit organizations or other entities that share similar values and goals as you, because this can amplify the impact and strengthen brand alignment. So, I mean, in considering those last two things, that kind of leads into my next slide and question. How do you communicate your company's services, your service and outreach, and encourage employees participation? So who has an outreach program out there that they're particularly proud of? Brag a little bit.
I was going to say, Doug.
I know
do.
You all have outreach programs. who was getting ready to talk?
I think as manufacturers, we don't do a good job of celebrating ourselves, right? We're a little bit more humble, but we need to celebrate it because that's what attracts those employees nowadays. They want to have a purpose and they want to align with a company that has these great initiatives in place and doing such great work. So we have to brag about it all the time.
Now, I saw someone in the notes that they actually had incorporated their social responsibility into their website, and they had moved that into actually the recruiting tab in the website. And I think there was also a newsletter. Who was it? Was that you, Kevin? Did you guys have that?
We do have an environmental tab on the website. It does highlight things that we've been working on. I know going to the social media that our sales team does a good job on updates on LinkedIn. We also have a consultant that we work with. She was actually a former intern that started her own business, and then she helps us with a lot of those social media communications. One of the ones most recently was environmental related. I thought it was just going on our website, and it turns out it actually went to like a trade association, SEAMS, so North American textiles manufacturers. So it went beyond our website even, and it went out in a monthly newsletter there. So I was surprised when I got the email forwarded with that, and here I thought it was just taking a picture or two and a quick video blurb for our website, and then it was beyond that. So yeah,
that's good.
Social media really spreads the word out there. But yeah, between the social media and the trade shows that our sales group goes to throughout the country, they do share our successes environmentally and social responsibility. Like I said, that's as far as recruiting, that has become more and more prevalent, not only with employees but customers as well. So what Paula said, that we really do need to celebrate that and do a good job of communicating that. So
yeah, I agree, and given that there wasn't a whole lot of discussion on this, I mean, it sounds like outreach efforts may be not fully structured. Most people may not have a structured outreach with regards to social responsibility, but I would submit that most companies do have an outreach of some kind. Either they have newsletters, they may be on social media in various places and forms, and I would just suggest that it may just be that no one has really approached the people who are responsible for those programs to highlight social responsibility. They may be highlighting new products that they have, or how you've got a new automation cell in your company, but maybe social responsibility is not been forwarded as a message. So I would recommend that maybe that might be a good thing for folks to start thinking about, is how can they engage their marketing department into getting this word out more.
And I think,
and that's the part of integration, right? So important.
Yeah. And I think really how Ashley had a great example of how she was having a kind of an all employee orientation on the program, and like just getting some of that started, that would get people excited to, might be a pre-step to the external outreach.
Yeah, another example too is MTH pumps. I remember when I started with IMEC, we kind of looked at their website, I looked at their website, and I look at it now and I see it spelled out more, right? These are some of the things that we're doing. It's more elaborate, and that's amazing to see that companies are really celebrating their wins.
Yeah.
So, Doug, this is Todd. Maybe I can add in one other data point here.
Yeah.
As we think about communications and tying that to the employee recruitment and retention, I was doing some research for a webinar earlier this week that I did, and there was a study from Deloitte in 2023 that said that 54% of Gen Z and millennials will research the environmental policy of a company before accepting a job. And so as the workforce it changes and you have an increasing proportion of Gen Z and millennial who are your potential employees, they are looking for this information on the website, and they might not even consider your company if you don't have environmental policy. 1 out of 2 are looking at this, which is pretty significant portion.
And the way that they look at it, Todd, is if it's not on there, you don't do it.
Exactly. Because if you are doing it, you should shout from the rooftop.
Yep. I agree 100%. I believe that statistic. I see it all the time. So anyway, it's all food for thought, and it's not only for how you might respond to this question if you're filling out the survey, but just in general, how do you start to incorporate this more into your business? So good discussion. I appreciate everyone contributing to the conversation. So we'll move towards wrapping this up. Let me go to the next slide. So if you're going to be participating in the Spark Awards competition, what do we look for from a judge's perspective? First thing, right off the bat, be able to back up your claims. If you check a box on the survey that says you do something, you may be asked to give examples. So, be prepared there. Try to incorporate examples of best practices. And if you do one of them well, flaunt it. Judges remember and report on good examples of best practice. Team-based presentation. I know it isn't always possible to have a team, and sometimes there's only one person responsible for this, and I get that. If at all possible, I say try to do this. One of the keys to successful social responsibility in a company is for the company to have a social responsibility culture. This means, cross-functional participation. So to the extent that you can convey that by presenting as a team, that's always good. And judges note that. Presentations. This probably doesn't require a lot of explanation, but to me, the value in presentations is in the structure. Making sure all key points are covered and nothing is left out. I've seen people exceptionally good at off the cuff winging it. But invariably something gets omitted. I mean, I've done my share of wing presentations, believe me. And every time afterwards, I think, wow, that really went well. And then after a while, I'll think of something that I really meant to highlight that I didn't because I forgot it. So if you have the presentation, it can kind of help keep you on track. So I think most of you probably will do that, but I just throw it out there. And the final one, preparation, as I mentioned earlier, be able to back up your claims with examples. Make sure you cover all the keys of your strengths, and be clear and concise. And that's mainly what we look for. Anyone have any questions on this slide or comments? Okay. All right. References and resources. Hopefully this might be of use to you all. There's a lot of material on the IMAC website that you might find helpful on this topic, and there are workshops and webinars. There's really a wealth of information there. And if you're into reading, there's numerous books that delve into the concept of social responsibility in business. And here are some of the well-regarded books on the subject. This is just one page of them. I have another page here. So there's lots of things to look at there. Does anyone have other reference material that they just love and want to share with the group?
I noticed that Todd placed a link to, it looks like it's a webinar on impact of sustainability in manufacturing industry.
Okay.
Thanks, Paulo. Yeah, that's just a quick webinar that includes some of the data I'd mentioned there, and some other interesting points focused on manufacturing. So encourage you all to take a look if you're interested.
And where do we find the link for that, Todd?
It's in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I can't see the chat. So.
That's right. Yeah, when you're hosting, it all gets hidden, but hopefully everyone else can see it.
Okay.
It's on my website as well, esgowl.com, but it's right there.
Okay. All right. Good. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right. So that's a wrap, I guess. I thank you all for your time and participation. Lots of great conversation. I hope you found it valuable. Before we close it out, are there any questions or comments anyone has? Last chance. Paola, did you want to add anything?
No, I would just say that I really like that you put team-based approach on this, especially anyone that's new. It's one thing to complete the application online and you feel like you're the one that needs to own everything, but that team-based approach is so wonderful because it shows that integration and how everyone is, has that buy-in when you're presenting. So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was a great point on there.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it really is, and it makes a difference. And if one person is doing the presenting, you have that person's point of view, but you really don't know how the other sections of the organization are really signing off on it. And if you have a team-based presentation, it really shows that the entire company is behind what you're doing. So yeah, it makes a difference. Appreciate that.
Thank you, everyone.
Kathy, is there anything you want to add before we close out?
Nope. We do have one more Excellence Forum in operations on January 11th. So come on back. We're wrapping up the competition on January 15th, just as a reminder. So be sure to go in early before January 1 so you can get your early discount. And we look forward to seeing you guys all throughout the process, and then culminating at our Spark Awards. So thank you everybody for participating. And
yes, thanks everyone for the participation.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Paula.
Okay.
Wonderful session.
Right.
Have a great day.